last month. So spend time with the guys. It's amazing. Have pretty tough time in my life. So but kind of enjoying that right now.
I know you're friends with a lot of guys in the room. How did they welcome you back? What was that like stepping back in here?
Guys said me so many good words. They support me like kind of from first day. It happens. So it's huge help. When like guys still with you.
Those are the words from Val Nichushkin after the Avs 5-2 loss, and he returns from suspension, a 6-month suspension, going back into the NHL's player assistance program last year, leaving in the middle of the postseason. 9 games played, was leading the NHL in goal scoring in the postseason when he was suspended for a third time by the league. Mandatory 6-month suspension has now been lifted. Plays his first game. Actually looked pretty darn good in this one, but the Capitals spoil the party. 5-2 is your final as the Avs fail to sweep the homestand. However, they do get all but 2 points in their 4-game homestands. We welcome you to Between the Pipes here on Altitude Sports Radio, live on X, on Twitch, on YouTube as well. Alex Ryan-Emy alongside Mark Springer on Mike Tyson and Jake Paul Fight Night Spring.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely got a lot to talk about with this game. Certainly Valeri Nichushkin's return. Raj and I do have the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight up. So if anyone is watching that while you're watching this stream, well, you're in the right place, because we will, if something interesting happens, we will give live commentary on the Paul Tyson fight. Right now, Mike Tyson is walking to the ring. So we will keep you updated on that fight. What's going to be dumber, this fight tonight or that game we just watched?
Yeah, it was a news fest of a hockey game. Let's be completely honest. They score early, does Colorado, to get out to a 1-0 lead a couple of minutes into the game, which is it was a wonderful sight for Avalanche fans to get to notice, is that like, hey, you're not down 30 seconds into a game, you're actually leading, but it was short-lived. Washington played a really good game tonight. They gummed everything up. They played a really good neutral zone trap. I thought they were stifling in their own defensive zone. But what ended up killing the Avs this evening was not necessarily just that defensive prowess from Washington. The difference in the game ends up being Justus Annunen had a stinker. And the first goal he lets in on the power play to Jakub Vrana is a one-time shot, but it was very far out. It was a weak push from Justus, beats him alongside the rib cage. Even with a weak push, he was there. It's a goal that he probably wants back. The second one on the one-timer from Connor McMichael, I can forgive. It was a one-timer from the middle of the slot, blocker dot, just right off 6 inches off the ice, off the post and in. Like, sometimes guys make great shots and beat you, and I think that's what that one was. And then a really bad turnover leads to a Connor McMichael toe drag, and then the far side backhand, which is something that we've seen beat Annunen already this season. That's another one that can't happen. And Jared Bednar pulled him after 3 goals to give Trent Miner his NHL debut, and Miner came in, it was okay.
Yeah, Trent Miner was actually okay. Now, this is Justus's first start in 10 days. First start in 10 days, and he was coming off of a win at home against the Seattle Kraken. Remember that game? 10 days to go, so he's off for 10 days. I did think I like movements in net more than Georgiev. I just do. I thought when he wasn't allowing goals, he looks like he knows what he's doing. Yeah, look, Connor McMichael, 23 years old, former late first-round pick, had a good night. That little shot in the slot that beats Annunen, he puts a good glove, like it's good technique on the glove. It's a rip. He misses. The third goal, Sam Girard turns it over. Sam Girard had a rough night. I mean, I praised him, obviously, after the Nashville game, sick game-winning goal. Had a good game overall. This was a bad Sam Girard night. He had a turnover also, not just on that one, the third goal that Annunen lets in, which was a sick backhand finish. It was a really good backhand finish. It was Connor McMichael again, and he dekes Josh Manson. He puts Josh Manson in the spin cycle, goes backhand. It's a great shot. I put that on Girard with the giveaway. I'm a little lucky on the initial stick to get that, but that's a giveaway from Girard that can't happen in that spot. Trent Miner bails out Sam Girard in the third period when Girard gives a puck away in the middle of the ice, and it was Miner's best save of the night, a little glove save in the slot. I don't put this on goaltending overall. The Avs didn't play well. The Capitals were very solid and good tonight, but they weren't great. The Avs just did not play well. I don't know if it was out of sync and rhythm with the new bodies in. They're very good bodies. For example, look, Valeri Nichushkin tonight, he didn't have a shot on goal until the third period. His first attempt was nice. He bodies up a Capitals player and tries to outmuscle him and throws one on net. Good save by Lindgren. He gets another look with a head of steam on a little mini breakaway, and he just looked a little off-footing. Tries to put a backhand shot on net and then kind of slips and almost falls into the boards. It looked like a player who hadn't played in a while. He looked a little off-kilter to me. Drouin wasn't much of a factor. Miles Wood had his moments, but he's played more than any one of those three this season. Nobody really had a good night tonight. The only Avs player I would say that had Parker Kelly had a good game. Kovalenko, he scores an overall in his, brief amount of time out there. He had a good game. I thought Cale Makar had a good game. That's about it.
The majority of it tonight was a dud. And I thought Nichushkin honestly was the best player in the first period for either team, despite not having a shot on goal. His first two shifts, he gives 2 grade A passes that lead to grade A scoring chances, and neither one of them even result. I don't even think they result in a shot attempt, let alone a shot on goal. I thought he was good early. I was fine with his 200-foot game. Sure, I wasn't expecting him to come back and score in that first one, but I thought he was good enough in the first 60 the first 20 without a doubt. You mentioned Girard. Girard was terrible tonight. Couple of bad Apple turnovers. I thought Sam Malinsky struggled mightily this evening.
He did, yes. Especially in the third period. Sam Malinsky was slipping on banana peels.
And it just felt like one of those games where you simply didn't have it. I don't think it was effort based. I don't think it was the fact that they're outclassed by Washington. I thought Washington played a very good defensive game, and I thought Colorado didn't handle pucks very well at all during the evening. And combined with the fact that you do get a bad Justus Annunen start, again, the first goal you have to save. In the third one, while it's a good move and a bad turnover from Girard, it's a backhand far side, rather short side cutting across that he kind of has to make the save. I think that is a goaltending pull that is just as much to spark the team as it is like, hey man, we can't have that go in when we're not necessarily playing our best. I'm not going to blame the entire game on the goaltending. I just thought it was a game that was a dud. And honest, the last show we said, I thought it was a guaranteed win for Colorado. I really did. The energy in the building was nice when Nichushkin first touched the puck. People thought it was booze. I believe it was chews is what I was hearing when Val touched the puck. It was
interesting. Chew. I didn't even consider chews. I just assumed there was.
I'm very, very convinced that's what it was. If they were booze, the booze would have continued the entire game. People still boo Matt Duchene, and Matt Duchene did a bigger service to the Avalanche in asking to be traded than Val Nichushkin did in the last 2 years being away from the team. If they wanted to boo him, they would have booed him. I think he first touched the puck and they were chew that you heard because they got quieter and quieter and quieter as the game went along.
They did. They felt maybe I just am projecting here. They felt a little aggressive to me. Those chews, the alleged chews.
It felt at the arena. It felt like chew. It did not feel pointed.
Okay.
It did not feel violent at the arena. It felt like it was the chew chant that we've heard for the last 2.5, 3 years. it was fine. Kevin says Bednar should have stayed with Juice while he was still hot. I kind of agree. I think they waited a game too long to put Onanen back in, and I think it showed tonight.
In 10 days.
It showed.
And he hadn't had a bad start. Then he doesn't play for 10 days, and then he has a bad start. I'm not sure I would have waited. I mean, and that's kind of the theme of tonight. Guys who were coming off cold, off the pine. Juice was cold. Just hasn't seen game action in an extended period of time. That's what I mean by cold. Out of rhythm. Onanen, Nichushkin, Drouin, Wood was okay. And Nichushkin, he was better in the third. I still think if he had a game or two under his belt, that backhand attempt doesn't hit the side of the net. He puts it on net, and he doesn't kind of stumble as he is trying to fight for position like that. It very much felt like a first game in a long time for a player. And that's what it was for Nichushkin tonight. His first game since like early May, late April. But man, you see the size. You see the size. You see the speed. We know what he can and very likely will be. And we played that post-game comment coming in, and I'm looking at the video of it on Twitter's. Yeah,
if you want to hear it.
Yeah, let's play another one. I think he looks good. He looks healthy. And he said in that quote that we opened with, he said the last 6 months were tough, but I've had huge process with my mental health. I hope it never happens again. So he's acknowledging that he was in a bad way. He says mental health. He was off. He's taking that to me is a statement of taking responsibility by pointing out his mental health. So look, he looked good. Let's play another cut. Let's see Nichushkin. I think he looks good. He looks like a healthy man when I see his face.
Like a lot of work, a lot of things, but I think I had like huge progress, with my mental health. So hope it never happens again.
Val, what did you say to your teammates when you came back?
Second, please.
What did you say to your teammates when you came back?
Actually, we have a pretty tough schedule, so I only talk with individual guys, so when they ask me, I explain them a little bit what's going on, but pretty much everybody knows what's happened, so guys kind of not really interesting with that, so not many questions because they know it's tough for me, and only support.
I'm not shocked to hear that. It wasn't going to be a gossip session. It wasn't going to be Val walks back into the room and all the guys grill him on what the hell did you do to us 6 months ago? Honestly, I think that's a feather in the cap of the CBA and the NHLPA in terms of how they created the suspension system with the NHL's player assistance program. Is that when something like this happens, and I don't even think that they foresaw the they certainly didn't foresee the timing of Nichushkin back-to-back years in the playoffs with a bona fide Stanley Cup championship contender, but it ends up working to their advantage he gets removed for 6 months. And as a result, time starts to heal wounds. And when you get reintroduced after a handful of months in an off season, that again, unfortunately, and he knows he's accepting what he's done, he helped cause that premature off season. Once you come back, it's you have no choice but to throw it in the rear view.
Yeah, this is a business, when Val shows up to work, this is his job. This is his teammate's job, and first of all, it's a little awkward to console, an adult, their teammate be like, hey man, you okay? You doing well? I know I would just kind of nod. You probably just kind of nod.
What's up?
And
how you doing, bud?
It doesn't, nothing everyone's smart. The words don't need to be said. There's an elephant in the room. Everyone can read it. So there's no point in, you don't have to sit him down and put a hand on his shoulder if you're a teammate or anything like that and say, hey man, I mean, you can, but again, you can't babysit him. Like you can't. Any pep talk or anything is fine, but this will be on Val, and a good first step. He's taken responsibility tonight. He looks good. And it's not surprising, there were a lot of things that said the Avs could win tonight, considering how well they played of late, and now you're adding good bodies. But Nichushkin's first night back, he doesn't leave, when he leaves in the playoffs last year in a state of like injury or health reasons. These were self-inflicted things that in theory could have been avoided. Like it's not the most positive tenor. So for everything to just be happy, perfect on day one back was kind of a little bit of a pipe dream, actually. Val has been dealing with adversity, and what does he get on night one back? What does his team get on night one back? Adversity. It would have been two storybook. Val comes back, scores the game-winning goal. Oh my God, our knight in shining armor returns. No, there was controversy with how he left. He's going to have to work himself back up. They start with a loss. They'll need to work themselves back up from there.
Here's the full availability from head coach Jared Bednar.
Go ahead for Jared.
Coach, keep talking about your starts. It seemed like maybe analytically you guys didn't get off to the worst start. Maybe you just couldn't get a save. How did you see this one kind of play out?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like her game really at all. Never mind start to. The start was probably better than some of the rest of it.
You're moving guys up and down, Lehkonen down, Sam Girard, moving him around. Is that just trying to get a spark from the guys?
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot going on the offensive side of things for 2+ periods. So moved Duran with McKinnon. He seemed to have a little pop in his step and was making some heads-up plays, which we struggled with as a group tonight. So give it a try, but didn't work.
Was it just an off night? Did you feel like the timing was just kind of off with the guys coming back and trying to find?
No excuses, but yeah, it was definitely an off night. We didn't, in its simplest form, it looked like we were second to the puck all night, and our execution was not good. We had a tough time stringing together 2 passes, turnovers on. First goal was a shot from the point of the power play. Second goal turnover. Third goal turnover, and most of them unforced. And that's just the ones that ended up in the back of our net. On the offensive side, we didn't create a whole lot because we couldn't put any passes together.
Parker Kelly's been trying to contribute and has done a fairly good job. Finally gets rewarded for it. So
Yeah.
What have you kind of thought of his play?
Yeah, no, he's been solid on the defensive side of it. He's been doing a lot of heavy lifting with D-zone starts, face-offs, penalty kill. It's kind of his niche with us, I think, and he's probably been a little frustrated because he's had some decent chances and his line's had some decent chances. But tonight, I thought that was a line that gave us a good spark early, and they end up, in the minutes they played well, and they got 2 goals. When your fourth line gets you 2 goals, limited ice time should be a good sign, but the bulk of the rest of our team struggled.
Bonus goals.
Goaltending, defense had a tough time moving the puck, whether it was under pressure or not under pressure. We had a lot of turnovers that ended up on their stick after we had it, and offensive zone play, the forwards are kind of the same thing.
What did you think of Val's game coming back?
I thought he was okay. Yeah, I thought Drew was okay too. Yeah, I wasn't expecting perfection out of those guys, but like I said, I moved Drew up because he had some pop, and I thought Val had his moments too.
Georgiev, day to day, is he expected to go on the trip? And then also, what did you think about both your goalies tonight, I guess?
Well, I already said they weren't good enough. For sure, Eustace. First shot, point shot, no screen. Second one, no good. Third one didn't like that either. So, I thought Trent came in this game, and he did a nice job.
Those are the post-game comments of head coach Jared Bednar after the Avs lose 5-2 at home to the Washington Capitals, echoing a lot of what we've already said here in the post-game show. they didn't quite have it tonight. Just a lot of turnovers. Goaltending wasn't there whatsoever. He did like Nichushkin's game, thought Drouin's game was good enough that he popped him up onto the top line, which is not where he started. It's not saying much. And I thought he kind of smirked at, I want to say it was Megan Angley who asked the question about Parker Kelly having a good game and scores his first goal. He keeps a puck in at the blue line to
Great play.
Great play, Spring, to directly influence the second goal that Kovalenko scores in the game. And when you get bonus goals, and those are 2 bonus goals from your fourth liners, you need to win those hockey games. And I think it showed that you got 2 bonus goals from the fourth liners and you weren't anywhere close to winning this thing, that it was just there's 82 games. There's going to be a handful of stinkers in there. And that's what tonight was. It was just it was flat.
Yeah. And, kind of going back to what I was saying about Nichushkin before we heard from Bednar and then hearing Bednar and I'm thinking more and, the day that Nichushkin leaves the team in the Dallas series, game is at home. Is at home, remember? And the Avs came out that night, and they were so flat. I mean, like they had been hit by a bus with bad news just a couple hours before. Like they were distracted. Now that's a negative, like holy crap, hit you like a bus, like I said, type distraction. But there were distractions today. Something I maybe overlooked in terms of the emotion of everything. And, now he's in the dressing room. Now he's suiting up. And I'm sure that the feelings were different today, even if it was just ever so slight. Like there's an extra distraction today. Now this is it. Like this is the only day where this will apply. But I bet that there were a lot of distractions today. Maybe that could explain just playing. That was their worst performance of the season skating wise. They've had a couple bad ones. That was their worst. I mean, they did not skate overall tonight. Like I said, except for Parker Kelly, a little Kovalenko, though it's mostly his goal. And I thought Makar was very good.
And you know what?
Nobody else skated tonight.
The other thing is Coach mentioned the execution part of it. The execution part is not only like receiving passes, and he was right. You couldn't get a second, third, fourth pass in there. They didn't get. They got 1 power play opportunity that was pretty good, like a beautiful little between the legs tip at the end of the first period from Makar to McKinnon. He barely misses it. They don't do anything to start the second period with a minute of power play hangover time on the opposite side of the ice make. But they had a few chances and they didn't convert on the chances. And Makar had one in particular on the far side of the ice away from McGahey and I, where he danced through everyone. Capitals players crashed down onto Charlie Lindgren, and Makar he doesn't find the back of an open net after he makes an all-world individual play. That could have changed the game. And there were a couple of plays like that where the Avs had a chance to like stem the tide a little bit, get a point out of this one. It just wasn't there. And again, I thought this was an unlosable game for the Avs, and it just happened that they were all flat. Gerard and Malinsky were turnover machines tonight, and they couldn't find each other to save their lives. And sometimes this happens, but I guarantee to win. And that it just feels like that's what happened. Cause I've got the worst predictions in the world. Anytime that I am gung ho on something, fade the living hell out of me.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because they're going to win a lot of games still coming up, but not a good performance tonight. And we know they're far better than that. The fourth goal, the Jacob Chikrin goal, which it's a good little addition. I kind of like Andrew Mangiapane had some really good defensive plays in this game. They actually put together a decent little roster here, but again, nothing so special that I felt like, oh my God, Washington was just amazing tonight. But that fourth Chikrin goal, Malinsky gets stripped by Pierre-Luc Dubois. He gets manhandled by Pierre-Luc Dubois. Been a minute since he's had a play like that. Dubois, that is, at least from what I've seen. And then Calvin DeHaan's out there with Malinsky, and he turns around. I would have liked to see him go after Dubois. Now he's assuming that he sees Middlestat kind of coming back to occupy that spot, but DeHaan is caught in no man's land, and then doesn't pressure Chikrin, who gets the puck. So the Malinsky-DeHaan pairing really lets Trent Miner down. And it was, the Avs don't end up getting a third goal, but it was 3-2 at the time. Kovalenko had scored. It was 3-2. And then Malinsky gets manhandled. DeHaan is bad in defense as well. The third D pairing, Malinsky has upside. He's been good of late, but he's young. Whether it's DeHaan, whether it's Shillington, the sixth defenseman, and you might think, oh, it's just the sixth defenseman, but I'm seeing an issue there with the sixth defenseman.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out who that guy's going to be. And I don't know if the player is currently in the organization. That player might be a March 3rd add to this team.
DeHaan committed the penalty that led to the Verona goal. Just Calvin DeHaan, not a great night, as well as Malinsky, as well as Gerard. Bad defense night.
We'll see. It's going to take a little bit to see what this team actually is. I think as we gave the Avs the rest period, the grace period rather, of the first month of the season, the first 17 games until Val and everyone got back, as like a, hey, just stay above 500. I think the rest of November, I'm not going to give them a full month, but I think the rest of November is, all right, this is your time to gel. And then by the time December comes around, hit the gas, because you got to make up some ground against Winnipeg quick. You have to guarantee that you're going to be a top 3 seed. You don't have to be the 1 seed in the Central, but you get a half a month to kind of figure this out. What is a blessing in disguise is that you go out as a team on the road for a long period of time. The Avs are not back in Denver until the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It's a long East Coast road trip, and I think that's a blessing in disguise. Typically, long road trips are ones that like you hope to get half the amounts of points on. Now you can come together as a team. You're just in your own bubble, going from city to city, and I think it came at the perfect time for Colorado. Paul and Tyson fight, man. 30 seconds to go in the 7th round. Tyson looks like he's 60 years old.
Yeah, I was able to check out some of the first round until I just got so invested in our show. And it looked like Tyson was giving Paul a little bit of a run, and then, the age has set in. But Jake Paul doesn't look like anything special at all.
No, I want to see him fight a real guy. Like I want you to fight an active 25-year-old, light heavyweight or whatever. I don't even know what they're fighting at right now.
It's all made up, and the rules don't matter in this fight.
I mean, he looks.
It's like, whose line is it anyways?
Old. The fact that he's about to go 8 rounds is, dude, good on you. I couldn't go 8 rounds
because Jake Paul doesn't have. I got it up right now. Like, Jake Paul has opportunities to go for some shots, and he's either missing, like Tyson just ducked one, or he's just not taking them.
So are you just waiting until
this is an amateur fight?
Are you just waiting until round 8 to like actually go after Iron Mike, or have you made an agreement that, hey, if we get past round 3, we're going all the way. I'm going to win by decision, and we're going to shake hands, and both of us are going to walk out of here $20 million richer.
I rain down booze, not choose booze. If that happens,
there's not a chew. Colorado Sports Fanatic says everyone in the Twitch chat is asking who that extra defenseman might be in March. And I think the obvious choice for a lot of Avs fans is like, hey, Eric Johnson. You could go out and get him. Sports Fanatic, I think, has a really good point. You want someone like Eric Johnson. I don't know if you want Eric Johnson at this point. You want someone who can fill that big physical role. You're not going to fight in the playoffs, but is willing to get into the muck. I don't know if EJ has the foot speed to play with this team anymore, man. You need to find a guy like him that's about 8 years younger and is on an expiring contract. And as of right now, I don't know who those players are. I can certainly look into it prior to next game. March is a very long time away.
Yeah, I mean, EJ, he could be a possibility because he's like only $1 million. I brought it up on the show. But yeah, I mean, I'm talking about Calvin DeHaan being slow on a defensive transition play, and he's just skating backwards, and he looked like his skates were stuck in concrete. I'm not sure EJ is much better at his age. Granted, the trust that this team would have in him, and the cheap nature of his contract, and by just the way he would gel with the locker room, and it would be an instant fit. But yeah, probably if you could find that the Sean Walker mold, like that's. I know he was a smaller defenseman, but that's kind of how the Avs are built, and to have speed and a little bit more versatility. I don't know who a Sean Walker-esque player is out there, but maybe someone like him would make obviously more sense in theory than an older Erik Johnson, who the Avs will see on Monday. And look, Philly's a tough team. I don't think they're Washington in terms of, there's no Ovi on that team, or, I think Washington might be a tick better than Philly, but in Philly, and Philly's been playing okay of late. Their goaltending's atrocious, but they play tough. Tortorella has them playing tough. If the Avs play like they did tonight in Philly, you're looking at 0-2 in the Nichushkin return era.
You know who one of those players is on an expiring contract in Los Angeles is Vladislav Gavrikov, 28 years old. He's a mean son of a bitch. I don't think LA is going to let him go. He's on year 2 of a $5.8 million extension. I assume he would be too expensive for the Avalanche. Money would have to move out to move that type of guy in. The rest of the defensemen that are expiring contracts this year at the deadline, I don't think you could fit in. Jake Chychrun, who scored tonight, looks like Washington probably wants to find a way to re-sign him. If Jake Chychrun can turn into what he was expected to be, that's a guy who has number 1D upside. Ekblad is on an expiring deal in Florida. He's a guy who's former number 1 overall pick on the final year of an 8-year extension. I don't expect that Florida would get rid of him. Also, he's injury prone as hell. There's not many big bruising defensemen that are available to you. So I don't know where the fix would be. Maybe David Savard, but David Savard is old, man. Old. He's like 35. I talk about not wanting to add an old defenseman like Erik Johnson. Savard feels way older than Johnson does.
Well, it's not gonna. I mean, it's it's literally mid-November. It's 15th. They won't make any moves there.
You could look at Cody Ceci.
Yeah, he's a solid defenseman.
I mean, as a 6, 7, 8 guy, you know what? Screw it. If you want to kick the tires in San Jose on Cody Ceci, and they'll eat half of his $3 million salary, which will be like way cheaper than $3 million by the time that the trade deadline shows up in March. Sure, you could kick the tires on that guy, but I don't know. Maybe the DeHaan turns out that he's actually that guy. It's still so damn early. We played 18 games.
Ludwig.
Nah.
Remember, is Ludwig a guy?
Nah, I don't think he is.
Dude, this Tyson Paul fight is like this is Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor.
Yeah, it's another snooze fest, man. It's such a shame that we haven't seen a real fight in so long. Like, the fact that we haven't been treated to that absolutely kills me. That we haven't been given the heyday of like those Oscar De La Hoya fights. And I know a lot of people didn't love how De La Hoya fought or how Pacquiao fought because they were so technical and they were just going to make sure that you hit a certain percentage of the punches that were thrown. You danced around the ring, but it was, if you enjoyed boxing, it was delightful boxing. And I feel like it has been years since we've gotten a big card. And I don't know, maybe this is the first step in a guy like Jake Paul bringing the sport back. So like he finally gets on to a major stage. And this does feel like the first real, it's not a real fight. Let's be very honest, but it does feel like the first real stage that Jake Paul put himself on. So maybe the next fight that he gets in, it's actually a legit opponent. I don't know. I'm trying to look on the bright side.
Yeah, no, I've seen like some Jake Paul boxing highlights, and he must have been fighting absolute jabronis because he'd look okay, and I'm like, hey, good for him. He's training. Maybe he's got a little bit of a knack for this. But they're in the final round here. They're in the 8th round, both guys tried to give it some shots early in the round. Now they're both gassing out. Jake Paul's swings are all very weak. If he can't land on 59-year-old Tyson, he would get destroyed by a contemporary who's actually good in his age range. This is bad.
The Iron Mike is gassed right now.
They're bowing at each other now.
He is so tired. He's being held up by his team. The fact that a 60-year-old dude just went 8 rounds. I know it's not like, what he was doing back in his 20s, man, but holy smokes, he's gonna have to get stretchered off.
So I don't know where you are, but I'm at the very end of the fight, and they just embraced and looked like they were giving each other words of respect. I see through this.
Yeah, it was more of a pre-promotion spectacle than an actual fight, and every single time, and it happens once every couple of years with me in fighting, whether it's the McGregor thing, Pacquiao and McGregor and getting into the ring instead of actually being an MMA fighter, it dupes me every 2 years.
Yeah, no, everyone starts talking about it. You get the FOMO, the fear of missing out. So you're like, I got to see this thing. They were showing, so many celebrities were at this thing. Shaq, Gronk. They before both fighters came out, they just panned all the celebrities in the crowd. So now Jake Paul his shtick is going to be, I went toe-to-toe with Mike Tyson. I went the
baddest man on earth.
Baddest, and he's going to use that as some badge of honor when really, when you watch the fight, Tyson was washed.
Tyson threw 98 punches. He threw 98 punches. That's it.
And that was just low-level fighting is what it was.
Oh, what a snooze fest. All right, Spring, let's look through the scoreboard before we get out of here. Speaking, it was a snooze fest all around. The Avs game was boring. The fight was boring. It was a day that started off with so many fun headlines, right? You're on a Friday before the Broncos and the Falcons. You've got the Nuggets coming off of a 5-day layoff, something crazy like that. They don't have Nikola Jokic, the first game of the NBA Cup for those who celebrate that made-up nonsense. But you were going to get to see a version of the Nuggets that we hadn't seen yet this year, the Nikola Jokic-less Nuggets against a Pelicans team that was playing with 3 freaking dudes, no Zion Williamson, among 6 other main rotation players. They end up falling. The Avs game has 3 big-time players coming back, and including 2 top 6 players. And the biggest offseason news of the league in Valerian Nichushkin, that game is a snooze fest. And then we get a Netflix fight between a YouTuber and a 60-year-old man. And you know what? Shame on me for being fooled again to actually think that I was going to be entertained by that. But that was just, you know what that did? That made this show worse because I was looking at my phone during the show. That's all it did. It poisoned your Between the Pipes experience. So you can thank Jake Paul for this being a shit show.
No, I'm here to shit on Jake Paul. So it was worth it. It is all worth it. I wonder if was this the plan? Tyson says, I agree to this fight, but I'm not losing. No way do I agree to this fight if I lose this fight. It's like pro wrestling.
The official Dirty says, Apollo goes
a knockout loss, anything but some sort of close decision, right? Maybe Tyson said, okay, I'll lose by the closest of decisions. That's the only way I agree to this fight.
Apollo says the women's fight was the main event. 100% the women's fight was the main event. Did you see the undercard fight before this one?
No, I did not. I tuned in specifically for the main event.
Bloodbath. A bloodbath. I don't know that Serrano and some Irish chick, and they walloped each other. And that was a legit, I think it was a featherweight title, and one of the girls, the Serrano girl, went up 3 weight classes against the world champion, and they absolutely smoked each other.
Yeah, you look at both Tyson and Paul's face, I don't see a cut on either of their face.
Again, Tyson only threw 98 punches.
I think that this was the plan. And, they just announced Jake Paul's the winner. Tyson shook his hand. So this is pro wrestling. This is what this was. They let Tyson get the slap in at the press conference to, give him a moment. And then Jake wins by decision. Yeah, Tyson doesn't lose too much. He doesn't come away looking that bad. Jake Paul gets a win, but doesn't look great if you actually watch the fight. This was a pro wrestling setup just to continue to build Jake Paul. Lord only knows who his next opponent will be. Maybe it'll be you, Raj.
I was gonna say I'll take a billion punches to the schnoz as long as he's gonna pay me
I
60
bet you
sheets.
could just train a little bit. You could go toe to toe with Jake
Official
Paul.
Dirty goes, who the hell cares about the Tyson fight? Who the hell cares about the Abs game tonight? That thing was unwatchable tonight. It was
Yeah, we're gonna
unwatchable.
do 82 of these a year. It's a Friday night, and I think we got everything that we needed to get out about this game. I don't think we left any stone unturned. So
The goaltending was bad. They were turnover happy tonight. They didn't have anything going on the offensive side, and when they did, they didn't find a way to hit the net. And that's about it. That's all she wrote. Sometimes
and it
you
will
lose
get
hockey
better.
games in
Like
the
it
82-game season.
will get better. Nichushkin's gonna find more rhythm. He's gonna come into better form. Same with Drouin. I know Bednar said they looked good. I thought they looked rusty. Even Miles Wood, Eustace first start in 10 days. And heck, we'll see what's going on with this Georgiev upper body injury. All of a sudden, is there a feeling tonight?
I thought it was an illness. I thought
illness.
That's what,
it was an
yeah,
illness.
It was an illness.
Okay. Okay. I don't know
no
where I saw
injury,
upper body
illness.
injury.
Yeah, not a UBI illness. Wasn't feeling well. This
Okay.
still was a scheduled start for Onanen. If there's one bone I have to pick, I think the organization waited too long to play Eustace Onanen again. He should have gotten the last game on Wednesday. He should not have waited until Friday to play. I thought he was cold. I thought he was icy, and I thought it showed in the first period. And Bednar agreed.
It was O'Connor with the illness. Georgiev does have an upper body injury.
Oh, but O'Connor played today.
Yes, he was sick, but he ended up playing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
but whatever it is doesn't seem to be too severe with Georgiev. I don't want to see either of these goaltenders go 10 days between starts.
Unless someone turns into Connor Hellebuck for like 3 straight starts and goes shutout, 1 goal against shutout, then you should get 3 starts and the other guy gets another one if you're the hot hand. That's what the Capitals are doing right now with Lindgren and Logan Thompson, who used to be with the Vegas Golden Knights. They are literally hamming and egging those goalies, one after the other. They're doing the old pee-wee treatment. That's what I used to do when I was coaching U12B hockey, a decade ago. Was Johnny gets the start one night and then Sean gets the start the other night. And even my only rule when I was coaching like very lower level youth hockey, it doesn't work the same way at U18 AAA. That's you have a true number 1 and a number 2 and you play them accordingly. But when you're coaching youth hockey, my only rule was if you got a shutout, you get to start the next game. That was it.
I would Johnny and Sean this thing all day, one after the other. Seriously, I would do that until one of them has a bad start when they're in more rhythm. I feel bad for Eustace. 10 days off, and then they throw him back out there with some guys gaining chemistry in front of him instead of having firm chemistry. Tough spot for Eustace. He was bad though, no doubt about it. That was it was his only bad start of the year. His only other poor appearances were in relief of Georgiev. Every start to this point had been good.
Weird night in the NHL, just 5 games. The Flames shut out the Predators 2-0. The Preds are reeling, still haven't found their footing. The Blue Jackets triple up the Penguins, the Penguins are in trouble. And if the Penguins want to do something real in the final couple of seasons about Sidney Crosby's last couple of years and the fact that he's like a 100-point player still at age 37 or what he is right now, they need to take a page out of Washington's book and find a way to get a youth movement. And that means you're going to have to trade away older players, Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin, something like that. You're going to have to you either have to tell your fan base, hey, these guys are going to retire here and we're going to suck for a few years. And hopefully the same thing's going to happen back at the end of the Yager and Lemieux era where we're really, really bad for a few seasons. But when those guys decide to like move on and retire, we'll have been so bad that we have 3 years of first round picks. And you would have to hope that those turn into Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Marc-Andre Fleury. But you have to be very, very straightforward with your organization. We're either doing this and they're retiring as Penguins, or we're going to trade away your favorites that brought 3 cups to the Pittsburgh area. Because right now they're in purgatory, and Kyle Dubas, I think he made a huge mistake in terms of extending players like that.
I agree. Some of those contracts they've handed out of late to older players is very odd. I like a last gasp effort, but a short-sighted one. Had they been a little more patient, maybe they could have been in the earlier stages of a youth movement that maybe next year or the year after could have paid off for Sid. But now it just feels like it's too late. It's just too late to start a youth movement, to get rid of guys and then build up again in Sid's age 37 season. What is he? Is he on the last year of his contract? How many more years does he have? Is it next year as well?
He just extended this offseason for 8.7 for 2 years.
Yeah.
So he's under contract.
Will he continue
until
to? Will he continue to extend? Like, will he continue to extend with the Penguins beyond the following season?
I mean, that's the big question: is 1, how long does he want to play? 2, how much does winning still matter to him? Because he's done everything. Like he's literally won everything, and he has nothing else to prove other than, take down a few records or continue to climb the all-time scoring list. But it'll come down to one question for Sidney Crosby. Do you want to ride off into the sunset while still playing very well, just on a horrible team, much like Mario Lemieux did when he came back from beating cancer and he came back to the Penguins teams that drafted Crosby? They were terrible then. They were terrible the first year that Sid was there, and then Lemieux retires, and then the Sidney Crosby era takes off. Are you okay with doing that? And that means that you play as a Penguin your entire career. You do the same exact thing that Lemieux did, and you blow everyone's expectations for you, which were enormously high from the time you were 12 years old, out of the water. Or do you love winning so much that you have to go to Kyle Dubas and you say, I love Pittsburgh, but I still have something more in the tank and I want to go win a few more rings? That's the question for Sidney Crosby. And his answer to that question is what the Penguins will do organizationally.
I love it when players play their entire career with one team, but it's a bit overrated. It is. I mean, you still got to put in work day in, day out. You go out there and put your body on the line. You should want it to mean something. You should be trying to win. And, I'll use Tom Brady as the example. He's a Patriot. You'll think of him as a Patriot, but he had gas left in the tank. He knew that the window with the team he'd been with forever was over, but he wanted to win. He wanted his work to mean something. So he went elsewhere. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, it mattered.
If I were to advise Sid, that's what I would advise him.
It mattered that he won, though, because let's think about another quarterback spring. Did Brett Favre leaving Green Bay and going to Minnesota and the New York Jets change your perception of his career?
Well, he's still, that first season with the Vikings was pretty fun. Was it the first or second season? Like, they make it to the playoffs. When he goes to Minnesota, it was a fun year. His Jets run, was its own thing with the Techs and the whatevers. But you think of him as a Packer, and I don't think it changes my perception of Brett.
All right.
Aaron
wonder-
Rodgers, what he's doing, I mean, he's playing terrible with the Jets right now. But guess what? He thought they gave him a chance to win. On paper, that team has some pieces that would make you think that.
But Rodgers wasn't ready to retire, I don't think. I still think Rodgers, had the Achilles injury not happened, I think Rodgers would have had a better showing last year, and therefore the Jets would have been in a better place now than they were, or than they are currently, had he been healthy last season. I think that's a little different, but I will look back at Rodgers' end of his career and go, man, like there was something weird about that. And the fact that he's not going to win makes me look differently at him than I do at Tom Brady. And I think you got to, if you're Sid, you have to know you're going to win if you're going to lead Pittsburgh. You have to guarantee it. And I think the only place where he can pretty much guarantee it is here in Colorado.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing for winning or for legacy is winning, even though Mike Tyson would tell you legacy doesn't matter. Look, Wayne Gretzky, the greatest player in hockey history, played for several teams. Like, he's an Oiler, but he's a king. He's just the greatest.
He never won again. Once he left Edmonton, he never won again. He got
just put
close.
up a
LA got
freaking
close.
crap ton of numbers everywhere he went, and I don't know. Like, I want to see Sid play meaningful playoff games.
Me
Like,
too, because he still has it.
As a fan, I want to see that.
Because he still has it. Like he is still a point per game player in year 20. It's insane, man. It's nuts what he's doing. I would love to see him actually get a shot before he's 40 and he inevitably hits the wall and turns into like a 40-point producer or a 50-point producer, or maybe he doesn't even let himself get to that point and he's like, hey, listen, I'm going to go out as on top of my game. I've done everything. I've won everything. I've got every award in the book. I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe he just gets to that point and goes, hey, you know what? We had a great run. I'm going to retire as a Penguin and we're going to ride off into the sunset. They lose 6-2. It's a long way of saying that they got the doors blown off them by Columbus. Golden Knights beat Utah 4-2. And the only other game tonight, the Ducks beat the Red Wings 6-4. It was a weird night in the NHL, man. Weird night.
Yes, it was. But the road ahead is on the road. And the road trip begins. And they'll get to, you'll see Washington, second game of the road trip in D.C., so a chance to get some revenge. No doubt in my mind that the Avs are the better team than the Washington Capitals at the end of the day. But the Avs didn't have it tonight. We went over a variety of reasons why, or in theories as to why. But they will get it together. They will get it together. Maybe as soon as Monday in Philly and the following game, I assume Wednesday in Washington at the latest. They will get it together. You saw Valeri Nichushkin, even though I thought he was rusty, I mean, the speed and the size doesn't go away. And he looks, I mean, his size stands out. The Avs are a smaller team, so when you have him out there, it stands out. He will get it going. They will get it going.
That's going to do it for us for this hodgepodge of Between the Pipes. It was hockey and a worthless vanity boxing match, and we talked about Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. I don't know how we got here, guys, but as always, we love you. We thank you for sticking around with us, for chatting on Twitch and on Twitter and on YouTube. And as always, thanks to our friends at Safeway. When you guys are going out and doing all of your shopping for Thanksgiving coming up in just a couple of weeks, make sure you guys go to Safeway, Safeway.com, clip the coupons, get your turkey there, and make sure you guys have a great spread for your family and friends coming up on Thanksgiving. We're going to go to bed. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Avs don't play for the rest of the weekend, but it's an early game, 5 p.m. puck drop, Mountain Time out there in Philadelphia. We'll have a 4:30 pregame show on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5, and Spring and I will hit these digital airwaves starting around 8 p.m. or so. But for Spring, I'm Raj. Enjoy the rest of your football weekend. It's going to be a delight tomorrow morning. Big Fox noon off is in Boulder for the Utes and the Buffs, a huge game, the biggest game yet. And every one of those games from here on out in the Dion experience will be the biggest prime game that we've seen. That's tomorrow. Broncos are on Sunday evening in a must-win game against the Atlanta Falcons. It's a great football weekend. Enjoy it, guys, and we'll be back to talk some more hockey on Monday night. See ya.